On a full moon night, in the midst of the jungle, a red-haired injured kid, holding his sword in his mouth like the comic character Zoro, was fighting monster wolves to save a girl. The whole time he was thinking that why is he really protecting humans as he is meant to do the opposite. He leaps and cuts their throats. With each second passing, he was getting more and more hurt, but he doesn't stop. He wonders if God is punishing him for his deeds. He blames humans for his condition. He always thought that he is invincible, but the humans defeated him. His kind was almost wiped out entirely, and he was supposed to exact revenge on mankind, but he failed. Yes, he was a huge red dragon in his previous life. The humans killed him, but he gets reincarnated in the form of a human. When he was born, his father and mother were both very elated to have him, but he was clearly shocked and traumatized to see that now he is a human. He could do nothing but cry and curse humans in his mind. When his father holds him for the first time, he spits on his face and gives a nasty grin afterwards. Then his mom names him Ray. He finds the name silly. About 4 years later, he was still not used to his new body. He tries some complex moves but couldn't do it due to his weak human body. He could neither eat nor hold the sword like a human. Only his hair was turning more and more red with time. He wonders how can he ever get his revenge like this. Suddenly he encounters a girl. Ray gets on guard. She was a blonde girl of around Ray's age. She tells him that she didn't mean to scare him. She introduces herself as Amy and tells him that he should head down the mountain before it gets dark. Ray asks her why. She replies that it's fine during the day, but demonic beasts might hunt the place after dark. She often picks up fruits and wild vegetables from there, so she was familiar with it. They both heads down the mountain together. Before Ray could tell her his name, Amy already recognizes him. She tells him that he's notorious in the village, but he was popular in the wrong way. Everyone hated him for his red hair, as in this world. Humans consider red the most ominous color as it represents the red dragon who ruled the world. The war between mankind and dragons has gone on for thousands of years. They considered the red dragon as the epitome of evil. Ray asks Amy if she goes there every day. Replying yes, Amy tells him that she has also seen him there often lately. Ray tells her that he practices there as he wants to be a swordsman. Ray's father was the only swordsman in the entire village. Suddenly, Amy's brother Gary, along with his 2 sidekicks, blocks them. Gary lividly shouts at Ray to get away from his sister. Amy tries to explain that he hasn't done anything to her, but they don't listen. His sidekicks tells Ray that he is cursed and will only bring misfortune if he stays in the village, so he should get away along with his parents. Ray couldn't resist anymore and punches Gary, but he successfully blocks it. But even after that, he flies away from its impact. Ray tells him to get off his way, but Gary tries to mock him even more. Gary removes his sword, telling him that he doesn't want to take his pathetic life. Ray drops his sword as well and tells everyone to come at once. After all this tussle, while Ray was returning home, some people in the market were talking about the Night Academy's entrance in which their kids will be participating. They spots Ray passing by. They were all not happy with the fact that he will take the test too. They were expecting the Avrian Night Academy to restrict him from taking the test. When Ray reaches home, his mother was preparing dinner. She looks at him and asks if he got into a fight again. Ray tells her that he got the injuries while training. His mother knew that he is lying. He tells that he will be fine as he is a man. His father comes in and sarcastically mocks him a little. His mother blames his father for making him defeat wooden training dummies. His father replies that it's necessary for him if he wants to get into Avrian Night Academy. The couple keeps fighting about Ray's future while Ray was silently eating his dinner. It was pretty common for him. Though his parents were both rare adventurers, he didn't inherit any of their talents. When he was little, they did a mage selection test on him. The magician told that he lacks any talent for magic. His mother was surprised as she was a mage. Even Ray was miffed to hear this, as he was the legendary dragon in his previous life. It was a shame for him. He thought that the old man is lying and gets on his and starts pulling his beard. After that, his dad also once gifted him a sword on his birthday. He had his hopes high. He believed that even if he can't do magic, he can still be a swordsman and exact revenge on mankind. He still hated humans, excluding his parents of course. When he practiced with the training dummy for the first time, he thought it will be easy, but he got beaten up even in level 1. He felt like his body couldn't keep up with his movements. He wonders if he can ever become a swordsman. Also, Gary has always bullied him. That night after the fight, Amy scolds Gary at home for treating Ray like that. But Gary warns her that if he comes near her in future, then he will beat him again. Amy bonks him on the head and leaves. Then Gary's eyes falls on his arm guard. It was dented from Ray's punch. He was shocked to see this. The next day, when Ray was going to the forest for training, he meets Amy again. Amy apologizes to him for Gary's conduct. Ray tells her that it wasn't her fault, rather he was not good enough. Amy was still feeling sorry. Ray picks an apple from her basket and eats it to maintain social norms. Amy felt a little good. Meanwhile, his parents were being assigned to a new mission. It was a dangerous mission. Ray's mom asks his dad if she can join, but his father tells her that someone needs to stay with Ray as his exam is coming. He assures her that he will be fine. On the other hand, Ray was still having a hard time getting used to his human body. His eyes falls on Amy for a second and he was mesmerized by her beauty. He stops himself from falling in love with her. With a blushing face, he tells her that now they should head back. Amy realizes that it's dark already. Before they get ahead, Amy first goes and checks if Gary is there. She wanted to make sure that Gary doesn't hurt Ray ever again. Ray feels a little embarrassed that a human girl is protecting him. He asks her why she isn't worried about what others will think of her. She tells Ray that she doesn't care about others' opinions and rumors. She also tells Ray to not be affected by it much and do it his way. As soon as she says this, Ray realizes something. His face glows up. He thanks Amy and immediately leaves for his home. He goes back to his training room again to face the training dummy. But this time he holds his sword in his mouth instead of his hands and leaps to attack it. This time his strike was a success. A voice comes out of the dummy telling that he has passed level 1. Ray was elated, but he decides to test himself further. Level 2 activates. The next morning Ray sees his father getting ready. He asks him where he was going so early. His father tells him about his new mission and promises him that he will be back before his exam. He also tells him to train hard until he defeats the wooden dummy. Ray wanted to tell him that he already has defeated it, but before that his mother comes and asks Mr. Talon, or we can say Ray's father, if he is ready. Mr. Talon tells her to be careful and leaves. Ray stops himself from telling him about last night. He thought that it would be more fun when he will find out that he can do these things easily. He also wants to now thank Amy for her help. But this also worries him as he was becoming more and more like a human. He still hated everyone else except his parents and Amy. He goes to the jungle and sees that Amy wasn't around. He feels weird that he is so excited for her. He didn't want to feel emotions much. After getting exhausted from training, he realizes that it's late already and he needs to reach home as soon as possible. He thinks of thanking Amy tomorrow. When he reaches the village, he sees lots of people gathered and finding someone. He soon discovers that it was Gary and 3 other kids who had gone missing. A weapons shop owner tells Gary and Amy's parents that he heard the kids talking about going to the forest to hunt demonic beasts. They purchase some weapons from him. A lady becomes very angry at him for letting them go even after knowing this. Ray was actually glad that now he won't have to kill them. Then he also hears that Amy has also gone missing. At first, he thought not to do anything about it, but soon he starts to feel really bad for Amy. She was innocent, so he rushes into the forest to save her. Meanwhile, the demonic beast had already surrounded Gary and Amy. Gary was trying his best to protect Amy with his sword. He was really scared but still managed to kill a few of them. Ray smells some blood and rushes straight towards it. He finds a slashed adolescent demon wolf. He was still having a hard time finding a direction, but then he hears someone screaming. He goes there and sees Gary getting knocked out by a big demonic beast. The beast then leaps to attack Amy. Amy closes her eyes in fear. When she opens it, she sees Ray stopping the beast. He asks Amy if she is alright. Amy tells him that she is not hurt, but Gary and his friends are seriously injured. As Ray was distracted, the demon attacks him, making him bleed. He gets up quickly and tries to lure the demon away from Amy, but he fails even in doing that. His human body wasn't strong enough to fight a demon wolf at all. He couldn't get away. His only option was to stay there and protect Amy. In the past, demon wolves were not a big deal for him, but now the tables had turned. Ray was badly injured. Holding his sword in his mouth, he warns the demon to back off. It leaps at him, but Ray knew their weak spot, that is the eye. He tries to strike it with his claws and manages to destroy one eye. If it was in the past, then only a single swipe would be enough for him to sink his claws into its brain. The battle continues. Eventually, he finds a flaw in its defense and strikes its leg with his sword. The leg gets slashed like a cake. Before falling into the ground, the demon sweeps its hand and it hits Ray. This time, Ray gets really angry and jumps and cuts its throat. Amy and Gary both were safe but unconscious. He was also going to faint, but then suddenly, a yellow light appears and it forms a projection, mustering that he has obtained a new skill. Rather than thinking about that, Ray prioritizes saving Gary and Amy. They were bleeding and the blood might attract more demon beasts. He gets up and carries both of them. Gary sees him but doesn't say anything. Ray sees that there were 2 more kids lying unconscious, but he couldn't do something. He reluctantly leaves their survival to fate. Soon all the villagers reach the forest. They were searching everywhere but couldn't find anything. Then they see Ray bringing Amy and Gary. The people there starts guessing things. A woman rushes in there and asks where are her children, Bob and Kyle. She panics to hear that Ray only brought back Gary and Amy. She rushes into the forest to save them but freezes halfway from the fear of demonic beasts and returns. Now she grabs Ray by the collar and blames him for luring them into the forest. She starts slapping him real hard. Now the other people also doubts that he might be the one behind all of this. Ray tells them that they are in the forest, but that makes them even angrier. The lady blames him for leaving 2 small kids in the forest alone. She now grabs a flaming torch and advances towards Ray. The humans were looking scarier than the demonic beasts to him now. They were the real monsters. The lady tries to hit Ray with the torch. Ray was pitying himself for dying again, and that from a wooden stick. He closes his eyes with a smile on his face. Nothing happens. He opens his eyes and sees Gary blocking the hit and stopping the lady. People now starts to speculate that Ray has bewitched Gary. With a scary face, Gary dares them to even touch his savior.